Hello everyone, welcome back to our series AI Explained Simply. I'm your host Marv, and today we're going to be answering the question, what is an MCP server? So, you've probably seen demos of AI agents doing real work. Stuff like querying databases, running commands, pulling information from multiple data sources. MCP server that makes all of this possible. So, let's break it down. So here's the problem. Large language models like Claude, ChatGPT, whatever you're doing, they're incredibly smart. They can reason, plan, write code, and explain really complex systems. But they are trapped in a text box. They can't query a database, you can't call an API, and they can't run shell commands in your system. And that's exactly where LLMs were. They could think, but they didn't have any set of hands to actually perform these real-life tasks. And this is where MCPs come in. And MCPs just stand for Model Context Protocol. And the best analogy that I can think of is an MCP is the USB for AI. Before we had USBs, every printer, every keyboard, every mouse had different cables and different connectors. Then USBs came along and said, let's have one standard plug that makes everything work. Now, MCP servers kind of do the same thing for AI tools. It's a standard interface that any AI model can use any tool. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how it works step by step. We're going to go over some new terminologies that you might not have heard of before if you're kind of new to the technical space. So, communication happens over something called JSON-RPC. And JSON is just a text format for structured data, like a form with different label fields. And RPC just stands for Remote Procedure Call, and it's just a fancy way of saying one program asks another program to do something. So JSON-RPC just means send a request and then get a reply from that request. And it's transported over something called the standard input and standard output. And these are the basic channels that every program uses to receive and send text. No web servers, no ports, and there's no networking setup required. Each MCP server publishes tool definitions, and a tool definition is kind of like a menu that says, here are the tools that I offer, and here's what each one does. And here's the information that I need from you, right? So, when an AI model connects to an MCP server, it reads that menu and knows exactly what it can do. Just like plugging in a USB device and your computer auto detects it. Okay, so let's kind of get into how it works, right? And I'm going to walk you through a real example. Let's say our AI agent needs to check the weather. The user would ask, what's the weather in, let's say, London, right? Here's what happens. The first step will be the agent will construct a JSON request, and it's pretty much just a structured text message that says, call the get weather tool within the city London. Then the request gets passed over standard input, which is our input channel, and it goes to the MCP server running on your machine. Then the MCP server does the actual work. It calls the weather API, gets the current conditions, and then it sends it back over JSON in standard outputs. And this is our output channel, like I mentioned earlier. And then this will contain all of our data, the country, the humidity, the forecast, the weather, and the degrees, right? The agent never knew how to call the weather API. It didn't need to. It just said, hey, I need the weather for London, and the MCP server handled the rest. That here is the power of abstraction, right? And the AI is what focuses on the reasoning, and the MCP server handles the execution directly. Okay, so now let's go a little bit into the ecosystem, right? Because this is where it gets a little bit exciting. So there are already MCP servers for everyday things that anyone would use, right? And I have a few things on the page here as an example, right? Google Calendar, email, web search, Spotify, file storage, the whole lot, right? Now, imagine telling your AI, schedule a meeting with Sarah every week at 2 p.m. and it actually does that. And the reason it can do something like that will be because it's connected to an MCP server via calendar, right? Then there's the technical and business side too. Database queries, code repositories, Slack teams, project boards, CI/CD pipelines, the whole lot, you name it. These are tools that teams and businesses connect to AI to make it actually useful at work. And the beautiful thing is they all speak the same protocol. You don't need to write any integration code. You just point agents to servers and it reads the tool definition and it knows exactly what to do. If you want to add a new capability, you build a new MCP server and the agent can pick it up automatically. So it's one protocol, unlimited servers, and if it has an API, you can give it to your AI. So that's kind of MCPs in a nutshell, right? And what I want you to take from this is it's a standard protocol that gives AI models real hands to interact with the real world. In the next episode, we're going to take a look at skills, right? How we can teach our AI domain knowledge without writing a single line of code. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.